Yeah, I was just thinking, dear devotees, whenever you have an opportunity to do pranam mantras, हम लोग ये प्रणाम mantra करके करके, what happens to us? Reciting these pranam mantras in the morning, in the evening, every day. All the transcendental family that is mentioned in the pranam mantra, all those personalities who are generally in the background, they become more, they come to the spotlight more. They come to the spotlight more. And whatever is a busy, noisy thing that we generally have in our mind, it just starts to go in the background. So it's beautiful. The pranam mantras are pranam mantra, Krishna Katha, everything about this is really beautiful. Wakes us up to the reality. And it actually makes our reality. So yeah, that's the potency and beauty of pranam mantras. It does feel sometimes, same pranam mantra again, same Hare Krishna Maha Mantra again, the same deities again, same thing again, everything same thing. But the beauty is everything that we are seeing in our devotional life, everything we are hearing, everything we are doing, those are transcendental activities. And that is the absolute reality. That's the actual reality. So yes, until we are in that reality, we continue to very happily, very gratefully do the same thing every day, hear the same thing every day, say the same thing every day. Yeah. So on that note, we will enter into the Bhagavad Pravaha. Okay. So Bhagavata Pravaham. Where are we now? In Bhagavad Pravaham, 11th canto. Overview of Bhagavatam, and then in how Srimad Bhagavatam is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. And after that, we heard about the whole Bhagavatam just in 1 hour. First canto, second canto, third canto, fourth canto, fifth canto, sixth canto, seventh canto, eighth canto, ninth canto, 10th canto. In the 11th canto now, in about 6 weeks, we will be missing saying this canto. So we are in the 11th canto now. 11th canto, subject matter is Mukti. And here we have been hearing about we are now hearing Uddhava Gita. So in the 11th canto, we have heard about the setting the scene for the disappearance of Yadu dynasty, that we have heard. And after that, Maharaj Nimi meets Navayogendras, that we have heard. And we also started hearing Uddhava Gita. After the, we also heard how demigods came and had the request to the Lord. After that, the Uddhava Gita started. So we heard about the first part of the Uddhava Gita, about those 24 gurus that Avaduta Brahmana was mentioning to King Yadu, that we have heard last time. So Uddhava Gita has started. We have heard about those 24 gurus. And now the connection is, please hear this, dear devotees, because you will need that connection today for the subject matter. It's beautiful. This Uddhava Gita, it feels like all the philosophy, tattva that's there in Srimad Bhagavatam, all the tattva of the Srimad Bhagavatam in one place, here in Uddhava Gita. Actually, we will see how this Uddhava Gita runs in the similar lines as Bhagavad Gita. We will see how that goes. So today the connection is this. Lord Krishna, he was instructing Uddhava to use his intelligence and logic, okay, and extract the information and be his own guru. That subject matter is based on logic, okay. There are 6 systems of philosophies we have heard in the very beginning in the Bhagavata. So absolute truth, the reality, that can be understood in 6 different ways. Those are called 6 systems of philosophies, Shad Darshan. One is through logic, that Lord Krishna was saying, yeah, in the 24 Gurus. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, then Karma Mimamsa, Vedanta, and the Bhakti, right? 6 systems of Nyaya, Vaisheshika, then comes Sankhya. When it is practiced, it is yoga. And then comes Mimamsa. After Mimamsa is Uttar Mimamsa. Yeah, in Uttar Mimamsa, it is subdivided into the Vedanta and Bhakti. So these are the 6 systems of the philosophies. In a way, all the 6 systems are being discussed in Uddhava Gita. That's one point. And we also will see how the subject matters that were discussed in Bhagavad Gita also are discussed here. So in that way, they run parallel. So the flow here is like this. So through the 24 Gurus, Lord Krishna has touch base the Nyaya system of philosophy. That is understanding the absolute truth through logic. That we have heard already. But that is not enough. Remember we heard? Because the conditioned soul has 4 defects. So just depending on one's own logic and intelligence is not enough. So that's why Lord Krishna, we will see, he says, after finishing the subject matter of logic, saying that one should be one's own guru, in the sense, use your intelligence and logic to gather the information and understand the reality. After that, he says, you will need bhakti to practically apply it. So the Nyaya, just using the logic and intelligence to only some extent, but that is not enough to have complete realization of absolute truth. One will need bhakti. But Lord Krishna doesn't directly say about bhakti here now. We will see. He will first speak about karma kanda. And then comes the varnashrama dharma. And then comes the jnana. And then comes the bhakti, right? And in that bhakti, there are categories, how should one meditate on the deity, all that comes. But after explaining bhakti, then comes the subject matter of modes there, very similar to Bhagavad Gita. So these are the topics that we are going to hear. And the sequence, the rationale behind the sequence is like this. First, we will be hearing about Karma Kanda and Varnashrama system. Why like that? It is like this. First, Lord Krishna has already proposed that one should become one's own guru and get the knowledge through one's own logic and intelligence. That is not enough, okay? And that is addressed, and that's not enough. And the next thing is, okay, bhakti is the solution, but why is not bhakti directly endorsed upfront? It's because of this. There are 8,400,000 species, and there are so many living entities, so many people. And so many combination of modes. The 3 modes are there. With the permutations and combinations, there are 18,400,000 varieties, and that's why. So not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody feels like, oh, okay, I want to practice bhakti now. I want to surrender to Guru and Krishna and I want to practice bhakti now. Not everybody feels like that. Not all the jivas feel like that. Actually, some jivas, they only want to enjoy materially. We think, what? Yeah, they do. And those people, I don't really want to call those people, but that philosophy is Karmakanda philosophy. Karmakanda philosophy is this. When the jiva wants to enjoy the bhoga pravritti, enjoy in the material world, for that jiva, this world is all in all. And whatever enjoyment it gets here is all in all. And if there is a concept of God, then the God also should come and give this enjoyment of this material world. That concept is Karmakanda. Karmakanda system. There, people do yajna. Do yajna so they can call the demigods. They literally call the demigods with the mantra. It is like this. When you do the mantra properly, the demigods should come. It's like that, should come. They will call. It's that kind of mentality. It's not, would you please come and give us this? That's not the mentality in Karmakanda. I'm doing this yajna, so you come and you give what I need. That's Karmakanda system mentality. So in here, even if the God is present, God is there only to fulfill this material desires, period. That's Karmakanda. Okay, so we will hear something about Karmakanda today. And the next one is if people are not totally up to bhakti, but they can take a little bit of it, but they also want a little bit of material enjoyment. Yeah, they kind of fit in Varnashrama Dharma. Yeah, so they, as we have discussed this in the past, right? So whatever enjoyment they want to, they do it in a controlled way, but their occupation and the life they live, they try to do it in a way that is pleasing to Krishna. Samsiddhir haritoshanam. Atah pumbe dvijasreshta varnashrama vibhagasaha swanushtitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. That is Varnashrama Dharma. Mixed, right? They're not totally devotees yet. They want material enjoyment, but they don't say there is no God. They don't say, okay, God should come and fulfill my desires. They don't say that. They know they are subordinate to God. And that's why they try to please the Lord through the occupational duties to the best of their ability, while enjoying in a Vedic way, in a controlled way like that. That is next thought of the people, that's Varnashrama Dharma. That's the second category. Okay, this Varnashrama Dharma, when somebody leads that kind of Varnashrama Dharma over many, many, many lifetimes or whenever it is, when they tend to understand that there is something more than just being satisfying these material desires, then they will have an inclination to have knowledge about their own self, spiritual knowledge. That's when those people in Varnashrama Dharma are inclined to jnana. So the third category is jnana. Okay. And Lord Krishna explains how cultivating jnana is very wonderful, but just having jnana with no Krishna there, with no bhakti there, Lord Krishna says, it is like having a cow which is not giving milk, having a son who is of no use at all. So jnana without me there is of no use. Lord Krishna says that. Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo. Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. That's how bhakti topic comes. Because just jnana without Bhagavan is not enough. And that's when bhakti is brought here in the discussion. Yeah. So in this way, we will hear about the Karma Kanda and Varnashrama Dharma, these two first, and that later moving to Jnana. We will hear this first as the first part. Yeah, these three things. And then as a second topic, we will hear about Bhakti. We want to do these three things quickly and then come to Bhakti. It's beautiful, very beautiful. The flow is also very wonderful, dear devotees. When you have a chance, please see just the translations of how the flow goes in Bhagavatam. So yeah, the second part will be Bhakti. And after saying everything in Bhakti part, where Lord Krishna says, this is it, Uddhava. Yeah, like, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, Uddhava, like that. Then we think like, oh, done. This is it, right? Everything discussed. But Uddhava, very similar to what Arjuna has asked in the Bhagavad Gita, he goes, I have understood very well everything. Thank you so much, Krishna. But I have a question. Prakriti and Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetrajna. I have heard about these words. Can you please elaborate on that, Krishna? That's how the Bhagavad Gita goes there. That's how the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are spoken by the Lord, which consist of modes. Yeah. Same thing in Uddhava Gita. After explaining Bhakti, Uddhava has a question. And then Lord Krishna had to explain about the modes. Beautiful. That is also very beautiful. So the whole flow is very wonderful, Uddhava Gita. So this is the flow, dear devotees. And now, this is something that you needed to know before I open the PowerPoint slides. Because once I open the PowerPoint slides, not all of them are in a sequence. So I may be going back and forth, but at least with what we have heard now, you please follow the sequence. What we will do is now, we will hear about the first part here. Yeah. What Lord Krishna is saying about the Karma Kanda and Varnashrama Dharma and then Jnana. Okay. So that's what we are going to hear. All good. Okay. So, yeah, the nature of fruitive activity. So as we have just discussed, this is about the Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda. And here, Lord Krishna is saying this about the Karma Kanda. See, in Karma Kanda, these people, they do the yajna, they call the demigods, and they get the boons. They go to Indraloka, Chandraloka, heavenly planets, and they don't stay there for a long time. After all their good karma is exhausted, they have to come back. They have to come back. They have to fall from Swargaloka to Bhuloka again. And in this is if somebody has done good karma. If their life is not led in a Vedic way, then their result will be, this is all the list, that they go to hell, they go to the darkest modes of nature, and it increases future unhappiness, all this. Okay, so 2 routes here. What happens when somebody does yajnas, etc., to accumulate good karma? This is what happens. They go to Swargaloka, but they have to fall back again to earth. And if they don't do it right, if they're doing bad karmas or living in a non-Vedic way, then they will end up going into lower planetary systems and lower species of animals, like that. And after they exhaust all that bad karma, then whenever in this infinite flow of time, when their karma is over, then they get back to the earth planet again. In this way, they just recycling. Here, only in Brahmanda, either to the upper planetary system and then come back to the earth again, or to the lower planetary system or animals and then come back to the earth again, just within the Brahmanda. This is all about Karma Kanda, just within the Brahmanda. This is Karma Kanda, dear devotees. Just a note for us, how is it pertinent to our bhakti? Here, the thinking, please note the thinking here in Karma Kandis are, I am doing this yajna and the demigod has to come and he has to give this boon to me. That is the mentality in Karma Kanda. And when we are doing bhakti, we can see what our mentality is. Because I'm doing this, I should get it. Then that is a Karma Kanda mentality. Lord Hari is not obligated to meet our expectation or demands like this as these Karma Kanda people do. Whatever Lord Hari does is for our own good. If he is answering our prayers in a way that we want to, or if he's delaying, or if he's doing something different, in Bhakti, it is all under Lord Hari, and he does things on his own accord for our benefit. So that we have to understand in Bhakti. Then we don't get frustrated. Then we simply consider Bhakti as a great fortune, holding the beads as great fortune, simply reciting the Harinama as great fortune, and being with the devotees and serving together as great fortune. That's all. Bhakti itself is great fortune. There is no result expected. That, when we have that kind of thinking, that is Vaishnava thinking. So in Vaishnava thinking, there is nothing more needed. Bhakti itself is a great fortune and it is given to us. And everything about Bhakti is wonderful, is a great fortune, and I receive it very gratefully. That's Vaishnava thinking. That's why in Vaishnava thinking, there is no sadness. But if our thinking is different, then it can cause, it is under the influence of modes. So that's something for us. So Lord Krishna speaks about this Karma Kanda people, and then says that these people are stupid. They are foolish because I'm going to just summarize it quickly. This is all very beautifully described in Bhagavatam. But what Lord Krishna says is, all this is illusory world. It is, the beautiful example he says is, anything to do with this Brahmanda, wanting to be a millionaire or becoming a pauper, is very much similar to somebody in the dream becoming a millionaire or being chased by a tiger. So, Lord Krishna says that this is an illusory world. The Karma Kanda people are living in an illusory world. They might be wanting to go to Swargaloka, and they have to come back again. And they will go to the Naraka or lower species and come back again. It is very similar to a person who is dreaming and is experiencing the happiness of becoming a king and the distress of being chased by a tiger. But this is not real. It is not, there is no substance in there. So he says that. So after saying about Karma Kanda, Lord Krishna says that this is not real. There is no substance in there, and one has to get out of this thinking. And then he mentions about Varnashrama Dharma, where the material desires are enjoyed, but in a very controlled fashion, and occupational duties are performed to please Lord Hari. And Lord Krishna says, even that also is binding in the material world. And then he comes to this point. And then he comes to this point. He says that's why one should remain detached from this illusory world, from this material happiness, from this mind interacting with the modes, from this mental world. One should remain detached. Lord Krishna says that. Yeah. How can one remain detached? Can somebody come? This, dear devotees, please note, we are not just talking about somebody who is doing karma kanda, somebody who is doing varnashma dharma. No, we have that mentality in ourselves. We have this karma kanda mentality. Yeah, I'm doing this, so I should get it. And we have this varnashma mentality also. A little bit of enjoyment, please. And then maybe a little bit of chanting. That mentalities are also there within us too. Yeah. Though we have started bhakti. Yeah. Then what do we do? Lord Krishna is saying, yeah, if you have that kind of mentality, then you have to get detached from there. How is that possible, Krishna? Because, please note, whoever is using God for their enjoyment in this material world, which is karma kanda mentality, for their enjoyment on their own terms, Krishna, I've chanted this. By this time, I should have become pure devotee. By this time, my distress should have been gone. It is not gone yet, Krishna. So, that's the karma kanda mentality. And varnashram mentality is like, a little bit of enjoyment, please, and then maybe I'll chant a little bit. So when somebody is in this thought, it means the jiva is embedded in the mind, in the subtle body, sitting in the subtle body, yeah, which is made of this mind and this false ego. How can that jiva come out when it is trapped in the subtle body like that? It is trapped inside. That's why the jiva is going through this happiness and distress, the pain and so-called relief, because it is inside the mind. So how can the jiva come out of this? And that's why the next point comes. One should approach a guru for this. In other words, the help has to come from outside. This person who is in this karmakanda mentality or varnashrama mentality, or a devotee who has this kind of mentality, cannot come on her own accord. The help has to come from outside. And that's why here the next topic comes. So one has to acquire transcendental knowledge from a guru. And the qualities of the disciples are, so how should this jiva, who is entrapped already in this mind, what qualities does this jiva should have in order to come out of this trap? As a disciple, what quality does it need to have? Does this person need to have in order to come out of this trap? Dear devotees, please remember. Again, we are doing bhakti, very pertinent question for us. Yeah, because if we are experiencing pain in bhakti, yeah, it is still because we are trapped in this mind. That's why we are experiencing it. So what to do to come out of it? And the qualities of the disciple. So the disciple, please see the list here. Lord Krishna is saying, the disciple should be free from false ego. He or she should not think as a doer. There should be no laziness, no proprietorship, and loving friendship with spiritual master, never bewildered, desiring advancement in spiritual list. Whoa. Oh my goodness, Krishna. The jiva is already trapped in the mind, already bruised and battered. Itna kuch list hai, Thakurji. Krishna, what to do? One clue here. We already know. Being free from false ego, not having ahankara, not having doership. ये तो doership में embedded है. It is embedded in the doership. Not having having, these are typically what? No ahankara qualities. Not having false ego, not having doership, not having proprietorship is no ahankara. How can the jiva which is trapped in the mind cannot have ahankara? It is trapped in ahankara. What is the saving grace for this jiva? This is Tattvajnana, dear devotees. Yeah, what is it that is saving? What can this jiva do? You look at that. Duda sauhrudaha, loving friendship with spiritual master. That is something that can help the jiva. Because for the jiva, it is impossible to overcome ahamkara. Only the Guru Tattva, when Jiva submits to Guru Tattva, that is the only way the Ahamkara is subdued. Up until then, there is no question of coming out of the jail of Ahamkara. So this is the Tattva Jnana. For the Jiva to come to Bhagavad Tattva, it has to be Guru Tattva, because the doors of Ahamkara, the walls of Ahamkara should collapse, and the Jiva, when submits to Guru Tattva, then it climbs onto the bridge of Guru Tattva to get to the Bhagavad Tattva. So it's the big wall of Ahamkara that is separating the Guru Tattva and the Jiva. For this Jiva to come on to the bridge of Guru Tattva, the Ahankara walls should be dropped. So when the Jiva is submitting to the Guru Tattva, the arrangements will be made accordingly. And when the Jiva is trying to follow the instruction of Guru Tattva, the situations will be created accordingly so the Ahamkara walls can fall down. That is how it works. So we have to understand that only when these Ahamkara walls are falling down, we can get on to the bridge of Guru Tattva. If we hold on tight to those walls that no, they should not fall down, then, submitting totally to Guru Tattva is not possible. So this is one thing. This is how the Baddha Jiva can get to the Guru Tattva or get liberated from this Ahamkara by submitting to Guru Tattva, to the instruction of Guru Tattva, to the Seva. When we say instruction and Seva of Guru Tattva, it is, we have to see that they are our saviors, that instruction and that Seva. We have to see that they are our great saviors. And whatever that happens to us in the course of the time, as we are submitting to the Guru Tattva gratefully, that is the greatest auspiciousness that can happen to us. That I wanted to just put that point on the focus, and then we'll move on. So yeah, these are the qualities of the disciples. Lord Krishna says that. And so in this way, the Jiva gets the transcendental knowledge and comes out of this illusory world. Yeah. In this way, one comes out of the fruitative activity or karma kanda and the gradual varnashrama, and then enter into the subject matters of transcendental knowledge and be qualified for the liberation, says Lord Shri Krishna. Then Uddhava's question is, Bhagavan, would you please tell the difference between the symptoms of conditioned souls and liberated entities? You see the flow, dear devotees. So far we have heard about the karma kanda and the varnashrama, and then how one can get out of this through the transcendental knowledge. So through this transcendental knowledge, a conditioned soul is becoming a liberated soul through this transcendental knowledge. So that's why Uddhava is asking, oh, okay, can you please tell how a person would feel when they are in this illusory world? Yeah, in this thinking of karma kanda or varnashrama, in this mental world, in this, when we say mental, it's not psychiatric mental, but the mental, psychological, the mind, um, uh, intelligence, and the false ego, the subtle body. That's what we're calling as mind world, the mental world. Yeah. So how does one feel when a person is in that world? Because there is no world outside. The whole world is in our mind. When our mind changes, the way we look at the world completely changes. It's the same world, same people around. Everything is the same. But when our thinking changes, everything looks different. So there is no separate world out there. It's all in here, in the mind. So, condition, yeah. So what are the symptoms? How does one feel when somebody is in that mental world, in the illusory world? And how does one feel when they are when they're liberated from that conditioning? When they are not identifying with mind and modes, how do they feel? We have some familiarity with the conditioned world. It's very nice to hear how it feels when we are liberated. Let's hear how one feels when one is conditioned. Okay. Here an example is given. An example is given here to give the differences between conditioned souls and liberated souls. If we hear like that, it feels like, okay, Bhagavatam is happening there and I am hearing here. No. Actually, Bhagavatam is happening to us now. How do we feel when we are influenced by the modes? And how do we feel when we are not influenced by the modes? That was the question of Uddhava. So we already just heard when we are in the influence of modes. Remember, we have heard that dream. That in the dream, there is happiness for some time in the dream because, oh, you have become a king or queen. So, yeah, good dream, wonderful dream. And the next night or in the same night, very soon you're chased by the tiger. Oh, sweating. Oh, that's a nightmare. And we sit up. So that's the experience of illusory world. That's not just in the dream. Dream we can relate to. It's the same pattern of thought that goes in the dream and that operates outside. So the happiness or distress that was experienced in the dream, it's the same happiness and distress that is experienced within this world when we are influenced by the modes. Okay. When we are not influenced by the modes, we, the same people, when we are not influenced by the modes, how do we feel? That we are going to hear. But before that, Lord Krishna was giving this example. Can you please tell the difference between conditioned and liberated living entities? The Lord was giving an example. See, it is like this. I'll give you an example. Please imagine that there are two birds on a tree with fruits, and one bird is very anxious to eat the fruits of the tree. That is the jiva. And the other bird sitting by that bird is not really anxious to eat the fruits, but just watches this bird who is very anxious to eat the fruits. And that bird who is just watching but is not affected with the temptation of wanting to eat the fruits, that's Paramatma. And also, the other bird which is not tempted to eat the fruits is also compared to a liberated soul. Because this bird that is on the tree and wanting to eat the fruits. See, these fruits, different fruits can be different taste. Yeah, some can be sour, some bitter, sweet, like that. What does this mean? This analogy. This jiva, us, when we say jiva, not somebody, when we want to entertain the thoughts pertaining to this material world, which gives us a sense of happiness. Yeah. And when we entertain the thoughts, we do not want to entertain, but we are forced to. When the modes in the sinking energy, when we are entertaining the thoughts of what we don't like and what is hurting us, this is equal to tasting the fruits. Tasting the fruits is entertaining the thoughts. Entertaining the thoughts that give us an experience of happiness, entertaining the thoughts that gives the experience of miseries. That is what a jiva, a conditioned jiva does. In other words, when we are doing entertaining this, then it means we are conditioned. We are conditioned in the sense. When we are entertaining those thoughts like that, happiness and distress, then whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we perceive is all based on conditions. It is subjected to change. Subjected to change. Happiness, misery, duality. Yeah. Conditioned means duality. Yeah. Happiness, distress. It is present now, it's not present later. Like that. So that is conditioned jiva. Liberated jiva. A liberated jiva, they do not entertain the thoughts to give them happiness. They do not entertain the thoughts pertaining to this material world, the things of this world, the people of this world. They do not. Because they do not entertain either the thoughts that give them so-called happiness or the thoughts that give them distress. They do not. That's why they're called liberated. They're liberated from that process of entertaining the thoughts that either causing pleasure or pain. They are liberated. How is that possible? I wish I can stay on that platform. If you notice this, dear devotees, this is, see, a conditioned one, yeah, somebody who is entertaining the thoughts is embedded in the mind. Is just carried away by the mind. The happiness and distress this mind says, the mind talk, just carried away by that mind talk. Becomes a puppet in the hand of mind. And then happiness, distress, happiness, distress. So when carried away by that mind, that is a conditioned situation. So in that case, that person is inside the mind. Yeah. When the same person through the transcendental knowledge and bhakti, and we just heard, right, how to come out of it, the disciples, qualities of the disciples. So when the same person comes out of that mind, yeah, by holding on to an anchor, then that person is not in the mind anymore. He or she witnesses the mind. Yeah. So he or she looks at the mind, is not in the mind, but seeing the mind, seeing the intelligence, seeing the false ego, not affected by that. So this is the liberated state. Yeah. So in the liberated state, how does one feel? This we have already heard. When somebody is inside the mind, there is harsha, marsha, raga, dvesha, bhaya, udvega, duality. Yeah. All that is present when somebody is embedded in the mind, conditioned by the mind. And then the person also thinks, I am doing this. That automatically comes, I am the doer thing. I am doing this. I will try to change the situations and see if it gets better. I will try to change the situation. Everything is there in that one sentence. I change better. what are we doing here? Yeah. You will change the situation so you can feel better. It means there is still pursuit of happiness here, still wanting to bring down the misery, and an effort is being put there. Yeah. And still the thought process is entangling in the mind, right? So person is thinking, I will try to do something to change this, but everything is happening within the mind. So this is all conditioned mind. So the conditioned mind thinks, yes, I will do something and I will do something about it. I am the doer. The liberated soul, as we have just discussed, just witnesses, don't interact with the mind or ahamkara, but just simply witnesses. These are the beautiful symptoms of a liberated soul. We will read it out. These are our incentives. Oh, how beautiful. Really? Do we feel like that when we are not trapped in the mind? Do we feel like that when we are identifying ourselves as Guru and Krishnas? So for that reason, for us to have some incentives, we will read this. This is how we are going to feel when we are not trapped in the mind, when we are liberated from the influence of the mind and ego. So they are never bound to any bodily activities, situated as a witness to all the actions, yeah, and renounces all material bodies as if fully awakened from a dream. All functions of his prana, senses, mind, and intelligence are performed without material desire. They are unaffected by violent attack or worship, not affected by praise or criticism, self-satisfied. My God, Srila Prabhupada is coming. When we are reading this, I feel like we are reading the characteristics of Srila Prabhupada here. Srila Prabhupada, on his so-called deathbed, when he was leaving the body, his divine grace, he was saying, this body is falling apart. It is not fit for service anymore. That is, before leaving the body, he was able to look at the body in such a detached way. Such a detached way. And of course, praise and criticism is not there in his dictionary anyway. It is his only the mission, transcendental mission that propelled him. So these are the symptoms of a liberated soul. Not affected by praise or criticism. None. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So those are the symptoms of liberated soul. Then, okay, we have covered the first part. Now, after saying this, Lord Krishna says, these are all wonderful qualities of a liberated soul, who has this transcendental knowledge, the jnana. But jnana without me is of not much use. So one should worship me, says Lord Krishna. That's how the discussion about the devotion comes here. Okay. We have heard the first part of Karma Kanda and Varnashrama and the Jnana part. All that we have heard, and now we are entering into the devotion. So now Uddhava is asking, oh yeah, Bhagavan, please, you have just mentioned that this Jnana is not enough, one should have devotion. Now, would you please tell the qualities of a pure devotee? And also, would you please tell how do they do the worship? And also, what is their qualification to do the devotion? So these are the 3 questions regarding the devotion. So we just heard about the qualities of a liberated soul. And now even more beautiful coming up. What are the qualities of a pure devotee. In other words, when our intention is pure to simply serve the Lord, when our intention is only loving service to Krishna, that's pure intention. So when we are blessed with that pure intention, and when we are situated in that pure intention, what are the qualities? That is the question. The qualities are, when somebody is situated in that internal energy like that, with pure intention and not affected by the modes. Not affected by the modes means not pulled by the modes. How can one be not pulled by the modes? If there is something that is helping them not to be pulled by the modes, if there is an anchor. When we have our anchor of Guru Tattva, yeah, and on that platform, when there is a submission to Guru Tattva, which helps us from the influence of the modes and keeps us on a pure platform, then that is pure devotional service. That's pure devotional service. When there is no tinge of ahankara, and when one is not drawn by the modes and performing devotional service with an identity that they belong to Guru and Krishna, that's pure devotional service. Yeah, that's pure devotional platform. So then how would one feel? How would one feel on that platform? They are merciful. They don't injure others. They are forgiving. Yeah. And they do not have envy. And they are equal in dualities. They are dedicated for the welfare of others. Their senses are controlled. Their intelligence is not bewildered. List is big. I'm still going to read, dear devotees, because this is very pleasing to the ears. And their behavior is pleasing. And they are very pure and exemplary, free from possessiveness. They have controlled eating, okay? And they're never endeavor in worldly activities. They're peaceful, they're steady. They accept Lord as only shelter. They're thoughtful, they're very cautious in executing their duties. They're not subject to superficial transformation. They're very steady, even in a distressing situation. They're free from desire for prestige, free from honor to others, offer all honor to the others. To others, they're well-wishing friend to all. They're expert in reviving Krishna consciousness of others. They're most merciful. They're able to show the harmony and compatibility of the Lord's apparently contradictory qualities. Kavi, okay. This is a big list. Ooh, a big list of pure devotee. The symptoms are the qualities of pure devotee. So the list is big, but the acharyas say, if there is one quality here, then the rest of the qualities, there is one quality here which is like a root. And the rest of the qualities, they become the stem and the branches. What is that quality which gives rise to the rest of it? Here it is, Sharanagata Bhakta Mukhya Lakshana. The chief symptom of a devotee is Sharanagati. Sharanagati Bhakta Mukhya Lakshana. When that is there, say this one here, accepting Lord as only shelter, everything else will come. Yasya asti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana. Yasya asti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana. Sarvair gunair tatra samasate suraha. Harau abhaktasya kuto mahat guna. Manoradhena dhavati asati bhahi. Yasya asti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana. When one is accepting the Lord as the only shelter. Akinchana bhakti means I do not have and I do not want to depend on anything else but you, my Lord. It means it does really need a lot of strength for a conditioned soul to be on that platform, especially when the challenges hit. So, unless a jiva is very much anchored on a stable platform, yasya asti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana is not possible. So, yasya asti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana, for Bhagavati, akinchana bhakti of Bhagavan, the akinchana shelter of bhakta is needed. And only in the protective shelter of the bhakta, the shelter of Guru Tattva, then there can be akinchana bhakti to Bhagavan. Otherwise, what can a jiva, how can a jiva offer that akinchana bhakti to Bhagavan? Yeah. So, yes, these are all the, and the beauty is all these other qualities. They are called marginal qualities. And they're all secondary. Primary one is shelter, dependence on the Lord, Sharanagati Bhakti Lakshana, and the rest of them are the secondary. They will come. They are dependent on the primary one. So even if somebody has some of these other qualities, but they do not have this primary quality, then it is difficult to maintain the other qualities. The root has to be there. The branch and stem and branch, for it to sustain, the roots have to be there. Yeah. So, yeah, and now the next question is coming. Okay, this is very wonderful, Krishna, the qualities of a devotee. What is the qualification, Krishna? Please, would you, can you say a qualification of a devotee, please? Jnatva taye vaimam yavanyaschashmi yadrishaha bhajanti ananya bhavena te me bhakta tamamataha. Jnatva atha ye vaimam yavanyaschashmi yadrishaha. It's not about how much a devotee knows about me. I have to read this book, that book, I have to hear this class, that class, and take this course and that course. It's not about how much we know about Krishna. Because it is said that Lord Krishna himself doesn't know everything about him. He is Ananta. He is infinite. And that's why Ananta Sesha, when he has to sing the glories or mention about Krishna, give the katha on Krishna, he cannot touch the limits. In other words, we cannot understand Krishna. And we cannot know everything about Krishna. Even we are given n number of lives, we cannot. Even Krishna he cannot know. How can we know? So knowledge about Krishna, reading and hearing and spending all that time to acquire the knowledge about Krishna, that doesn't necessarily is a primary qualification of bhakti that can help us know about Krishna, so it can inspire us to take shelter of the Lord. But the qualification is bhajanti ananya bhavena. It's not so much about how much the devotee knows about me, but it's about how, with what bhava are they doing bhajan to me. Ananya bhavena. Am I their only object of bhajan? Am I their only object of bhajan? Or do they have so many things going on in their mind? So that is well, not exactly. Yeah, knowledge is not necessarily a necessity, but for pure bhakti, yes, this is a necessity. Bhajanti ananya bhavena. With great possessiveness, great mamata. Govinda, it's just you and only you. Yeah. Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. Mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktya haitukitvaye. Only bhavatad bhaktya haitukitvaye, Govinda. Ananya bhavena. No other bhava. No other bhava of dhanam, janam, kavita sundarim. Kavita sundarim is glorification. The kavita which is sundarim is glorification. So not the fame, not the money, not the followers, not the glorification, but only your loving devotional service, Govinda. Only you. Only you. Ananya bhavena. So that, yes, that is a necessity for my Ananya Bhakti. That's what Lord Krishna is saying. So it's not about the knowledge, but how big is your desire that you only want pure devotional service to me. Yeah. So that is one thing. And to the other question of how do they worship, then of course Lord Krishna says, yeah, they worship my form, they touch my form, they worship, they offer glorification, they hear about me, they meditate on me, they offer different valuable objects to me, like that. They offer their whole self to me. This is how they worship. So this is Lord Krishna teaching Uddhava about what devotion means in Uddhava Gita. Yeah, it doesn't end there. Now that Lord Krishna is speaking about Ananya Bhakti, Ananya Bhavena, he is coming to the culmination. He goes, Uddhava, you are so dear to me. I can't stop myself from revealing this secret to you. Very confidential. Guhyatama. I'll tell you this, Uddhava. You know, for bhakti, see, one thing I have to tell you, Uddhava, this kind of bhakti, I've told about the qualities of the chief symptom and secondary ones. I told about the qualities of a devotee, yeah, and also this Ananya Bhakti and how they worship. But Uddhava, I want to tell you one thing. All this thing about Bhakti can be obtained only through a Bhakta. Only through the subordination to a pure devotee, they can destroy material attachment attained to me. Without subordination to a pure devotee, destroying material attachment is impossible. This is Lord Krishna saying to Uddhava that only by attachment to a pure devotee, one can destroy material attachment and then attain to me. Same thing, Lord Kapila. Right? Prasangamajaram pasham atmana kavayo viduhu sayeva sadhu sukruto mokshadvaram upavritam. That's Lord Kapila, here Lord Krishna. And he makes it very clear, that this is the only and only requirement for you to get Bhakti, Uddhava. Only requirement. It's not about how intelligent you are, how much austerity you can perform, how wonderful talents that you think you have, how detached you think you are from this world, how much sacrifices you can do, how much charity you can do, and how many Ashtanga yoga poses can you do, and how many siddhis you have. None of these things can give you bhakti. It's only the loving subordination and association. Tatvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadikshanti te jnanam jnanina tattva darshinaha. There is no other way that you get bhakti. If you notice this, dear devotees, it is so clear. Bhakti has to be something out of me. nothing pertaining to me, nothing that I can do, nothing I can sacrifice, nothing I can, sannyasa, nothing that sacrifice and austerities, nothing of me doing it. It is from the association and submission of a pure devotee. It is so much internal, right? And look at all these things. They're so external. The austerities, the tapasyas, the sacrifice, the charity. Yeah. So much busy going on externally with the body, huh? But bhakti is so internal. How big is my desire to serve Bhagavan? Proportionate to that desire will be my submission to whoever can give me the Bhagavan. And proportionate to that, there will be destruction of material attachment, because I cannot do anything about this material attachment. Proportionate to that means when my desire is big for the submission and to Guru and Krishna, then it means I am willingly and happily acknowledging and accepting whatever is coming in my way in the execution of that order. And that is how the detachment to the material world happens. For the walls to break and fall, that is material detachment. The ahamkara walls have to fall down. The raga dvesha, the walls have to collapse. And that is what material detachment is. That we cannot do on our own. But association and submission to a pure devotee. Lord Krishna said that, and then says, see, bhakti, Uddhava, as I just mentioned, it is none of these things. Even Jadabharta also says that to King Rahugana. Rahuganayeta tapasanayeti nachayidyaya nirvipanat grihatva nachandasayeva jalagni surye vina mahatpadarajobhishekam. Oh, so beautiful, right? Vina mahatpadarajobhishekam. Vina, without. Mahatpada Rajobhishekam, the foot dust of Mahat Bhaktas, smearing all over the body. That much submission to the Mahat Bhaktas. Then, that's how you get bhakti, nothing else. See, and Lord Krishna continues. So it's not about the austerity, knowledge, non-violence, charity, all this. Because look at this, Uddhava, there are so many animals. Gajendra was there, and Jatayu were there, and Bali, Vibhishana, Sugriva, Hanuman, Vritrasura, Prahalada, all of them. There was only one thing that was common denominator for all of them, for the bhakti to descend into their hearts. Either they were associating with my devotee or with me directly. Like in the case of gopis in Vrindavana, they were associating with the Lord directly. And in the case of Bali Maharaj, Vritrasura, Prahalada, and even Gajendra also, the animal, he associated with the saints in his previous life, like that. So either associating directly with me or with my bhaktas, that's how bhakti comes. Uddhava. And now the confidential secrets, one after the other, Lord Krishna is saying, look at these dear devotees. Lord Krishna also considers this as a very confidential one. Only through bhakta you get this bhakti. Only through the association and subordination to my devotee one can destroy material attachment and attain me. These are confidential secrets. They're not easy, but these are confidential ones. So in that category they came. And now that Lord Krishna has come this far, now he's talking about gopis, Vrindavana. He speaks about every being in Vrindavana, the sand in Vrindavana, the rivers in Vrindavana, mountains in Vrindavana, everybody, and how everything in Vrindavana has attained unalloyed love to the Lord. And then he makes a special mention about the gopis, the absorption of gopis, and the distress that gopis experienced when the Lord was leaving Vrindavana. Their absorption in Lord was so big. So the distress. Yugayitam nimishena chakshusha pravarshyayitam shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. And then how they were cursing Lord Brahma that they had to blink the eyes and are unable to in that are losing the darshan in that split second, like that. So the Lord was very fondly thinking of his devotees. And then he says, so Uddhava, I know I said all these to you. I started from the 24 gurus, and then the karma kanda and the varnashrama, and then the differences between liberated and conditioned souls, and then the jnana. And then, yes, I touched base devotion, and now I told you about these pure devotees, and the gopis are the best. Uddhava, this is it. Sarva dharman parityajya, just take shelter of me, Uddhava. And we think, oh, that is it. Uddhava Gita, done. We think like that. Bhagavad Gita also, by the end of the 12th chapter, when Lord Krishna says, these are the qualities that are most dear to me. He already said, yeah, everything about him, and then man mana bhava mat bhakto, and then you will certainly come to me, and these are qualities dear to me. And the knowledge of the absolute truth, Supreme Lord, is done, 12th chapter. And then what is the need for the next? But Arjuna had questions, the miscellaneous questions. Why are they miscellaneous? Because even when we know the Lord is the shelter, and it's very clearly Lord is saying, yes, come to my shelter. I'll take care of you. What is it that is stopping the jiva from doing it? And that's why the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the modes. So when one have the knowledge of those modes, then they will know where they stand in the map. On the same note, Uddhava Gita also flows accordingly. Here, Uddhava was asking, you have said it all, my Lord. This is all very wonderful, but I do not know why it is still not clear to me. Uddhava has to say that because Uddhava has to go and speak all this to the sages in Badrikashrama. And not everybody is like, okay, let me do Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Not everybody will be like that. There will be some people who have these questions also. And that's why Uddhava had to ask this question. And then so he was asking. So if I can ask you, my Lord, I have one question. Coming to the very first subject matter. I know you have already covered, the 24 gurus, and then the Karmakanda and the Varnashrama. And there you have explained that one should get detached from this material world, the illusory world. And that's where my question is. Can I go back to that very first subject matter? So sorry, you have already said about the Jnana and Bhakti. All that is very clear, but I have a question there. Can I go back to that question? My question is this. How is it possible for a soul who is conditioned to be detached from this illusory world? Then Lord Krishna explains, okay. A very similar question was asked by the 4 Kumaras to Brahma once upon a time. When these 4 Kumaras came and asked this question to Brahma, because he was busy in the subject matter of creation. Yeah. And that's why he was not able to answer it quickly. So he was meditating upon me, and then I appeared there as Hamsa Avatara. This is Hamsa Avatara, dear devotees. Lord, Supreme Lord appears there as Hamsa Avatara to answer this question of 4 Kumaras' question to Brahma. And the question is, for the 4 Kumaras' question is, this is a very good question. And the answer is very wonderful. And please see what reminds you when you hear this answer. This is something that Srila Prabhupada has said. Okay? The question is this. The 4 Kumaras are asking. Very nice question. Question is, oh, that's Brahma, right? Oh, dear Father, we have a question. See, these senses and the mind, they're almost inseparable. The mind is thinking so much about the senses that they are literally present in the mind. So how is it possible to separate this mind from the senses and meditate on Bhagavan? That is the question of 4 Kumaras. Then Hamsavatara comes, since Lord Brahma meditated upon them, upon the Lord. And Hamsavatara speaks some philosophy, but will directly come to the answer. A beautiful answer, though. Here, this is what I said. The slides are not in the order, so let's just hold here. So that was the question. I'll repeat the question and I'll say the answer too. Very nice one. Please remember, it can be very helpful during general bhakti and during the japa also. So the question is, the mind is so much entangled in interacting with the senses that the senses are almost coming and sitting in the mind. So much entangled with each other. How is it that we can separate the mind from this entanglement? Mind cannot, right? So how can this mind that is so entangled with the senses be separated and placed in the thought of Lord Hari? So that's the question. And Hamsavatara answers this. Is this. These senses, yes, you are right. These senses are so much sitting in the mind. In other words, the mind can't stop thinking of these senses. But this is because the jiva wants to enjoy. That is the reason. The Lord says, the mind originally is in mode of goodness. Remember, in the Visarga, from the Ahamkara comes goodness, passion, and ignorance. In the category of goodness, mind and devatas are there. So mind is like a quiet lake. Yeah, a calm lake. Undisturbed, calm lake. So mind is originally inherently in the mode of goodness. Where on that calm lake, the reflection of the lotus feet of the Lord is falls upon. So Savai Manah Krishna Padara Vindayo can happen. The mind can meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord because it is inherently in mode of goodness like a calm lake. But when the jiva has its thought of enjoying something, actually the shloka says doership. But the reason for doership is, I want to do it. Why would anybody want to do anything? Because they want to get something. That's why Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that it is the enjoyment of the jiva The thought to enjoy something in this material world makes the mind disturbed. The passion enters into the mind. Then now the mind is not a calm lake anymore. There are ripples on the mind. So the lotus feet of Lord Hari are not reflected on the mind anymore. The images are reflected. The people, the things, the images, everything is reflected. In this way, the mind gets entangled with the sense objects. Oh, then what to do? That's the question. Beautiful answer is, what to do is, don't bother about this mind, this material mind that is so much entangled with the senses. This material mind that is full of the thoughts about this material world. Do not bother about that. Don't even try to disentangle it. What you need to do is, you find out your identity and you relate to the super soul. When you find out that your identity is soul and you relate to the super soul, then you will give up this material mind along with the senses. So you give up the material mind and the senses by holding on to your origin, who is the Lord. So that's the answer that's given by Hamsavatara. Hamsavatara did not say, okay, now what you need to do is you have to disentangle your mind like this. No. Because Hamsavatara is talking about the material mind, which is full of material contemplation about the people or things are about this world and got entangled. So this material mind, you discard it along with the senses. And you simply identify yourself with your source and do your bhajan. This is what Srila Prabhupada said when a disciple asked him, Prabhupada, what do I do with this mind when I do the japa? This mind disturbs me so much when I do the japa. And Srila Prabhupada's answer was, where is the question of mind when there is japa? When there is harina? Where is the question of mind during japa? That was Srila Prabhupada's answer. It's based. See, this is the reason why he was saying that. You just discard that mind. There is, because it's all material. Yeah, you discard that. Here, you just be with the nama. So that's what Srila Prabhupada's answer was based on this. This is Hamsavatara. Then what about Lord Krishna saying, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskurum? Then what about Savaimana Krishna Padarvindayo? Then what about that mind? The context there is, mind has three functions, right? To think, to feel, to desire. So Manmana bhava madbhakto, that is, with these mental faculties, the function of the mind, think of me, you desire me, and you feel, you have the feelings about me. So when this mind is Krishnized, that is Savaimana Krishna Padaravindayo, that is Manmana Bhava Madbhakto. So when the faculties of the mind are Krishnized, that's what Manmana Bhava Madbhakto is. But here, Hamsavatara is saying, talking about the mind that is materialized, totally materialized, you discard it. Okay, so that's about Hamsavatara. That's all, dear devotees. That's a big chunk. And after that, this is more like, explain. Oh yeah, actually, in this Hamsavatara, here the slides does not show much, but yeah, it doesn't show, but very, very nice, dear devotees. Please look at the translation. Very wonderful, very wonderful, very useful points are said by the Lord in regards to the mode of goodness and how it is helpful for us as devotees when we are not on the pure platform yet. Then what is our step stool? The sattva is so beautifully, elaborately discussed here in the Uddhava Gita. And this one I would like to read. This is not present in the slide, but the Lord Krishna beautifully says how these three modes are, and how cultivating sattva is important when we have not realized ourselves yet, and how to cultivate sattva, and where is sattva present. The sattva present in the time is in the Brahma Muhurta. Sattva present in the food, we know the sattvic fruits, and the sattva in the music, and the sattva like that. Choose in everything we choose. If we choose sattva, then we are getting some help from that sattva energy. And Lord Krishna says, in this way, when one gets stabilized in sattva, they can move on to pure goodness from there, from material goodness to pure goodness. So you may please look into that, the Uddhava Gita. That's the 11th canto, 13th chapter, and I will read just this one. Lord Krishna says, until one revives one's direct knowledge of the spirit soul and drives away the illusory identification with the material body and mind caused by the three modes of nature, which is, our sadhana bhakti, one must cultivate those things in the mode of goodness. By increasing the mode of goodness, one automatically can understand and practice religious principles. And by such practice, transcendental knowledge is awakened. Those are the words of Lord Krishna. So what is cultivating, increasing the mode of goodness? One automatically. How to increase the mode of goodness? This is why, utilizing the things that are in goodness, utilizing the time that is in goodness, that's Brahma Muhurta. Utilizing the food that is in goodness, the sattvic food. Utilizing the music that is in goodness. Yeah. Utilizing whatever we are watching, that it is in goodness. Utilizing our speech in goodness. Utilizing our thought in goodness. Yeah, like that. So that is about the modes. And after that, Lord Krishna explains about how to meditate on the Lord. And here he speaks about Ashtanga Yoga. We already discussed this during Lord Kapila's teaching, the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, and Yama Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, that we have discussed. And Dharana is having the darshan of the Lord in the heart. And Dhyana is a very focused darshan of each limb of the Lord, like that. So that is all described also, Ashtanga Yoga. And in this Ashtanga Yoga, all the siddhis can be attained. Here, the list of siddhis. What are the siddhis that are attained when somebody is practicing Ashtanga Yoga? There are about many siddhis, but 18 main. In that, 8 are primary, 10 are secondary. There's Ashtasiddhis, primary ones. They are attained when the yogi is directly taking shelter of the Lord. Shelter of the Lord here means the Lord has different vibhutis. He can become very small, like Paramatma, and he can become so big, like Mahavishnu. That is his potency. So the yogis, through their yoga practice, when they focus specifically on that particular vibhuti of the Lord, then they also become, when they're focusing on the vibhuti of the Paramatma of the Lord, so small, then they also become very small. They can become very small. And when they are focusing on the vibhuti of, Mahavishnu, huge, big like that, Anima, Nima, then they can also become very big like that. So what are those 8 siddhis? Well, just read this out, and this will be the end of the session anyway. So 8 siddhis are: anima is becoming very smaller. This is based on the Paramatma Vibhuti of the Lord. Mahima is becoming very big, great. Hanumanji, he had all these siddhis, and he revealed that, right? He exhibited all these siddhis also when needed. So devotees, they do have all these siddhis. When they have Bhagavan himself, why not these siddhis? So all the devotees, all the pure devotees, they have these siddhis, but they don't care. They don't even know that they know. And they don't even know that they have. That much they don't care. Because all they care for is just loving service to the Lord. But some of the devotees like Hanuman and also Raghavendra Swami, some of the devotees like Madhvacharya and many other devotees, according to the time, place, circumstances, if needed, they have exhibited it. They have these siddhis. So what are the siddhis? Anima is becoming very small. Mahima is very big. Laghima is becoming very lighter. They float. Prapti is acquiring whatever one desires. Prakamya siddhi, experiencing any enjoyable object. Okay, Ishita siddhi. Ishita siddhi, Vasita siddhi, Kama Vasaya siddhi. Okay, those are there. Like that, 8 primary. And the other siddhis, Swachanda Mrityu, them dying, leaving the body on their own accord, at their own desire, on their own desire, like Bhishma had Swachanda Mrityu. So those are born from mode of goodness. They don't even necessarily have to come from Bhagavan. So the other 10 are from mode of goodness, and 8 are primarily from the Lord himself. That's all, dear devotees. So in this way, Lord Krishna speaks about all these aspects, including the Ashtanga Yoga and the Siddhis, and then finally says, Bhakti can give all Siddhis. And also to remember, Uddhava, the Siddhis can be impediments. One should not get carried away by the Siddhis. So like this, Lord Krishna, he speaks about all these topics, dear devotees. That's Uddhava Gita. So quickly, I'm just gonna, I will see what comes up. I'll just say the words. Actually, a lot of take home, take heart was there. I may not be able to go in detail about all this. So I'm just going to touch base few words. So, yeah, 24 gurus, and then today, Karmakanda, right? Yeah, Karmakanda kind of mentality and Varnashrama. So, what we have discussed was Karmakanda so far, and then Varnashrama. Yeah, in both these things, in both of these scenarios, the jiva is entrapped in the mind and in the illusory world. So it is experiencing happiness and distress. Then Lord Krishna said one had to come out of this illusory world. But the jiva is already trapped, cannot come. So the jiva becomes the disciple, and there we have discussed about the qualities of a disciple. Yeah, and the main quality is having that mamata to the spiritual master, that is there. And rest of the other qualities are also present that we have discussed. And there also we have heard about this kind of thinking that we might have in bhakti, the karmakanda thinking, and varnashrama thinking, a little bit of that and a little bit of this. When we're doing bhakti, if we're doing a little bit of material enjoyment and a little bit of bhakti, it's okay. If that's all that the devotee can do at that time, it's okay. But they should not be disappointed that they are not getting the experience of bhakti, like that. Yeah. And whenever they are ready to perform more pure bhakti, they can perform. And the karma kanda mentality also we have heard, right? So our misery in bhakti is more because of that karma kanda mentality. It's like, yeah. And we also heard about the Vaishnava mentality. The Vaishnava mentality is bhakti. This is it. This itself is a great fortune. There is nothing beyond. So everything in bhakti is a fortune. Like that, gratefully accepting it. That is the Vaishnava mentality that we have heard, and the disciple qualities. And then the differences between a conditioned soul and a liberated soul. And in the liberated soul, the main quality that we have heard, right? Taking complete shelter of Bhagavan Sharanagati Bhakta Mukhya Lakshana. And there we have heard that akinchana bhakti to Bhagavan is not an ordinary job. And that comes with akinchana sharanagati. Yeah. To Guru and Krishna, which means the walls of ahankara, the walls of raga and dvesha, they will collapse, and only then we can get on to the bridge of Guru Tattva and go to the Bhagavat Tattva. Yeah, that's what we have heard. And yeah, that's all the first section. And then coming to the second section, how Lord Krishna says, just jnana is not enough. I should be there, my worship should be there, and the devotion starts there about the devotion. How bhakta sanjayate bhakti. Bhakti doesn't come from within anything of us, but only the association of a pure devotee, attachment to a pure devotee, can destroy the material attachment and give Bhagavan. That's what Lord Krishna said. And after that, how is bhakti performed, that we have heard, and the quality. What is the necessity of bhakti? It's not about the knowledge, but it is about ananya bhakti, ananya bhavena. That also we have heard. And after that, Lord Krishna was speaking about how the bhakti is obtained only either because his direct association or association of his devotee. There he gave the examples. Examples of Prahlada, Bali Maharaj, etc. For the devotees, and direct association is gopis. And the Lord meditated on gopis and their unconditional love for him. That. So that is about the devotion. And then Uddhava asked about, can I go back to that very first question, please? Then that's when the subject matter of modes came. Hamsavatara appeared. And then he gave the answer that the material mind, which is so entangled with the senses, should be discarded by identifying ourselves with our source. Identifying soul with the super soul. In this way, the material mind should be discarded along with the senses. That was the answer. That's about the modes there. And then we have read how Lord Krishna is saying in Uddhava Gita that by increasing the mode of goodness, one automatically can understand and practice religious principle. There is the power of sattva is that there will be a lot of clarity that is that comes when somebody is on a balanced, non-agitated platform. Whatever we are hearing, our understanding and our application gets better when we voluntarily try to be on that non-agitated platform, as Lord Krishna is suggesting here. Not suggesting, he's instructing. The Lord is instructing. By increasing the mode of goodness, one automatically can understand and practice religious principles. And by such practice, transcendental knowledge is awakened. So that is all about the modes in Uddhava Gita. After that, we have heard about Ashtanga Yoga and different siddhis. That's all, dear devotees. Thank you all so much. Thank you.